Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So let's join and sing Srila Prabhupada's most favorite bhajan, Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari, Jai Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari, Jashodanandan Vrajajan Ranjan, Jashodanandan Vrajajan Ranjan, Jamuna Tira Vanchari, Jamuna Tira Vanchari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari, Jashodanandan Vrajajan Ranjan, Jashodanandan Vrajajan Ranjan, Jamuna Tira Vanchari, Jamuna Tira Vanchari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari, Jashodanandan Vrajajan Ranjan, Jashodanandan Vrajajan Ranjan, Jamuna Tira Vanchari, Jamuna Tira Vanchari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupada Paramhans Parivragacharya Stotra Sada Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kho Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasiti Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai अंतर्विद मायारू धाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, समावेद भक्त वृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे, all good to assemble devotees, all good to assemble devotees, all good to assemble devotees, all good to Guru and Gauranga. So welcome to Sri Sri Radha Govinda temple. Today Radha Govinda looks beautiful. We have made a major change. And I hope you can notice, if you memorize what was yesterday, it's not there today. And I cannot directly communicate with you, because if it was a Zoom, it was a different story that we can always exchange the words. But it's up to you now to figure out what is the change between yesterday and today. So, but there is a change, we tell you. All right, so enjoy the darshan, and at the same time, let's read Ramayana. We have some guests here, and for their information and knowledge, we should go back and brief what we are doing actually, and what we have done so far. So, in short, if I tell you, we started with Balakand. We are reading from Valmiki Ramayana, and it has different Khan and about 24,000 verses. So we started with Balakand, and in which it begins with Lord Rama's descent, the appearance of Lord Ramachandraji. And by the way, talking about appearance of Lord Rama, on April 21st, which is Wednesday, right here in this temple, we are going to have a big celebration for Lord Rama, but that's his appearance day. So there are going to be so many things happening, and beautiful kirtan, a lot of chanting and dancing, wonderful prasadam, abhishek, nice pravachan, lectures, and keeping the legal terms, mask and social distance in mind, we'll be meeting here. Hundreds of devotees are expected to come and attend. So please be aware of that particular program, April 21st, Wednesday. It's Ram Navami. Very most auspicious day. And just like a Janmashtami, appearance of Lord Sri Krishna, All the devotees are fired up to celebrate Lord Ramchandra's appearance. So please be there. In your calendar you must note down so you don't miss it. So in Balkand, after these four brothers were born, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna, up to 15 years they spent wonderful time in home. But after that, one day Vishwamitra is coming and is taking Ram and Lakshmana with him. So the first encounter they have with Taraka and also with Marich and Subahu. Then they are asked to join Vishwamitra ji and visit to Mithila. And over there they are breaking the Lord Shiva's bow and winning the hand of Sita Devi. And also Maharaja Janak, when he knew that there are four brothers, he is arranging for other three girls also, and now Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrughna also gets the Kanyadan from Maharaja Janak. Then they leave Mithila and start a journey towards Ayodhya. On the way back to Ayodhya, we read about encounter with Parshuramji. Also, Parshuramji is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. There are 10 incarnations, Matsyam, Kurmam, Baraham, Narsinha Vamanam, Ramam, Krishna, Buddham Kalkim Namamyaham. When we say Ramam, means first comes Parshuramji, then come our Sitaram that we are reading about, and then comes Balaramji. And that's why it sounds Ram. They are all Ram. But you have to understand the first Ram is for Parshuramji, second Ram is for Sitaram, and third for Balaram. So, these two personalities, both are Supreme Lord. But Parshuramji has some problem because when Lord Rama broke the bow of Lord Shiva, he could not control his anger. Whereas Rama is very cool and he didn't have any problem with Parshuramji, although he killed all the Kshatriyas in those days, 21 times. So Parshuramji on the way to Ayodhya meets Lord Rama and is challenging him. So that's the pastime when two personalities of Supreme Lord come face to face, and after all, Parshuramji is defeated by Lord Ram. Then we entered another Kand which is known as Ayodhya Kand, where there is a coronation plans for installing Ram and replacing Dashrath Maharaj. So we were reading, Ekdas Sukhamasinam Raja Swantapurajire Ekda Sukhamasinam Raja Swantapurajire Sarvabharana Sampannam Ratna Sinhasanasthitam अथ राजा दशरथः कदाचित् रहसि स्थितः वसिष्ठं स्वकुलाचार्यम् आहूयेदमुभाषत. Here it says that Maharaja Dashrath was sitting on his golden throne, and he is requesting his Kulaguru, Vasishtha Muni, that I am getting old now. I want to retire. We should be installing Lord Ramachandra, my son, on this particular asana. So please look at the good auspicious timing and be prepared to install Ramachandra as the king of this city of Ayodhya. We also learn Kaikeyi's jealousy arose in association with Manthara. When she got married, Kaikeyi, that time, Kaikeyi's father sent a maid servant along with Kaikeyi. And because of jealous nature, Kaikeyi was corrupted through mantra, and she was guided that based on her benedictions, how Kaikeyi asked her son Bharat to be a king, and Ramachandra, instead of installing him as a king, he must be exiled for next 14 years. So a king, she wanted as a kind of greedy feelings, but that was not Kaikeyi herself. She was not faulty. But the maid servant tried to instigate Kaikeyi in that matter, and she agreed. So Dashrath Maharaj had given her 2 benedictions, and she is asked, based on the benedictions, that my son Bharat be a king and Ram must go to forest for next 14 years. Now, the scripture is preaching us something here, that if there is a good basket of fruits, and if you have one fruit which is bad, it has ability to destroy rest of the fruits which are fresh and good. So it is the association of the person that you are associating with. You will easily become good or bad depending who you are associating. So here it says, Atah sanga parityajo dustanam sarvadevahi duhu sangi chavate swarthat atheyam rajakanyaka. Now, how Lakshmana and Sita determined to go along with Ram and Lakshmana to forest. We learned that also. When Kaikeyi put these conditions, Dashrath Raja didn't know about it. And it says, Tato Dasharatho Raja Rama Vyudaya Karana Adishya Mantri Prakruti Sanando Gruhmavishat. So, he was actually busy for the preparation for installing Ram and make him a king. But when he didn't see Kaikeyi, he was curious, and that's why he went to look for Kaikeyi. And finally, he found her, and that time Kaikeyi explained and insisted that my son be a king. And this was not her idea, it was totally idea of Manthara. Then he calls Rama, and Ram is informed through Kaikeyi that you will have to leave immediately and go to forest, and my son will be king instead. So Ram goes to see his mother Kaushalya, and that time Sumitra was also present. Tatas Sumitra drastvainam Ramam Ragni sasambrama Kausalya bodhayamas Ramoya samustitah. And that time he's looking for blessings from Kaushalya. She could not believe, and then she is also very upset about this. Dasharatha Raja is already upset about this. And not only them, but everyone, all the citizens of Ayodhya, they united and they say, what is the use of living in this city where Ramchandra is not there? So those who were able, they started walking behind the chariot that Sumitra was actually as a chariot driver driving that particular chariot in which Ram, Sita and Lakshman had taken seat. Ayantam nagaradrastva marge ram sajanakim Lakshmanena samam viksha uchuhu sarve parasparam. So there were some women who wanted to give birth to a child because they were pregnant. They could not leave Ayodhya. There were some very old people who were not able to walk, so they also decided not to join. But rest of them, most of the citizens of Ayodhya, they joined Ram, Sita and Lakshman, and they started walking behind the chariot. Now, we also learn that all the citizens and the Ram, Sita, Lakshman, they spent a night in a forest. And how Ramachandra instructed Sumantra to return back to Ayodhya quietly while the citizens were fast asleep. Because Lord Rama didn't want all the citizens to follow him all the way, because it would not make any sense. Wherever Ram goes, there will be Ayodhya, so his exile will be meaningless. That's why he's asking Sumantra to take his chariot back quietly while citizens are fast asleep in the forest. When they wake up in the morning, they could not see Ram, Sita, Lakshman, couldn't even find a chariot and a Sumantra either. So everybody started following the tracks created by the chariot, and then they ended up in Ayodhya. So, when Sumantra came back to Ayodhya, today's session will be learning something, and we will be entering this particular city of Ayodhya along with Sumantra. So let us read what exactly happened and how we actually entered the seat and what happened. So here in Valmiki Ramayana it says, Sumantra then entered the royal palace to see the afflicted Dashrath and relay the Lord's messages to him. Hearing Sumantra speak of Rama, the king immediately fainted from feelings of separation. Trying to assist the king, Kaushalya also swooned and likewise had to be helped. When the king regained consciousness, they reconciled, and he related the following story. So, Sumantra is bringing the news that Ram is no longer coming back. He's going to be there for 14 years. And that's why, lashed out by sharp words of Kaushalya, the king came to his senses. King Dashrath then said, O Sumantra, please fully describe what our Ram has said. While preparing, where is he living? What is he eating? For all these years, he has been accustomed to luxury. How has delicate Sita been able to live in forest atmosphere? Surely her frail body cannot bear the scratch of a thorn or a scorching heat of the sun. So, this way is very curious about Lord Rama, Sita and Lakshmana. But finally, there is no any hope that before 14 years, Ram is actually going to return. So, when the king regained consciousness, they reconciled and he related the following story. Now, king is thinking about his own karma. Srimad Bhagavad Gita says, and also all the scriptures will proclaim that sukhasya dukhasya nakopi data paro dadati iti kubuddhiresha. No one is responsible for our happiness or our distress. Others are responsible. That's the wrong way of thinking. Through our karma only, we create good or bad circumstances. That's what King Dashrath started realizing in this kind of situation. That's why he said, Sukhasya dukhasya na kopi data paro dadati iti kubuddhiresha. So, it doesn't make sense to blame somebody. And he's thinking about his past. Has he ever broke the law and order? He tried to be religious, but something went wrong when he was really young. And that time, he committed an offense, sinful activity. So, he narrated a story, and he says, one who does not consider the good or bad reactions of particular deed is certainly a great fool. One who cuts down mango trees to grow thorn bushes will undoubtedly repent at harvest time. By banishing Ram to the forest, I have certainly followed this example. And then he says, long ago, when I was a young prince, I learned the art of piercing an invisible object with my arrow simply by hearing its sound. Once, as I was hunting at night on the banks of the river Saryu, I heard a sound that I thought to be an animal drinking water. However, after shooting my arrow in that direction, I heard a loud scream and a human voice called out, who has so cruelly pierced me with his arrow, even though I am an innocent ascetic? As that pitiful voice cried out in pain, I ran in the direction of the crying. Thus I came upon the young ascetic boy lying upon the ground with my arrow struck in his body. Seeing me before him, the boy said, my old and blind mother and father are waiting for me to bring them water. You have not only killed me, but them as well. Without my care, they will be unable to continue living. Please go and confess to them that you have mortally wounded me. Before you leave, please pull out this arrow, for it is giving me great pain. Maharaja Dashrath continued, I hesitated to pull out the arrow because I was afraid if I did so, the boy would die immediately. Seeing my reluctance, the boy assured me, saying, do not fear, thinking you will be killing a Brahmana. I was born of Vaishya father and Shudra mother. After hearing these words, I pulled out the arrow, Dashrath Raja says. When I did, the boy instantly gave up his life and then filled his water pitcher and proceeded with a grief-stricken heart to the ashram of the boy's parents. There I saw the old, feeble, blind couple. Hearing me approach, they thought I was their son and began to address me with affectionate words. This caused my heart great pain, but I took courage and explained to them how I had accidentally killed their son. I am not your son, I explained, but a Kshatriya named Dashrath. I mistook the sound of your son collecting water of an animal drinking. In my ignorance, I shot an arrow and killed your son. Your Holiness, please tell me how I can atone for my sin. So this is very interesting that he is not only confessing, but he is looking for the way how to atone for his sin. Because Dashrath was a learned man, he knew that he could not escape the reactions of the sinful deed. He intelligently inquired about proper means of atonement. Scriptures advise every intelligent man to atone for his sins before death to avoid suffering in the next life. One has to make restitution according to gravity of the offense, even though many people today question the existence of the future life. The stringent law of karma, action and reaction are at work, and no one is excused, not even on the plea of ignorance. When people break the laws of God and nature, they must reap the results. Birth after birth, possibly descending to the lower species or to hellish planets. In order to avoid this, Dashrath immediately tried to counteract his sin. After hearing me, the Lord sage replied, because you have voluntarily confessed your sin, I shall not curse you. If I were to do so, when you would die instantly, since you killed my son out of ignorance, your life shall be spared. Now, please take me to where my son is lying. I led the blind couple to where the son lay lifeless, and they began to caress his body and cry out pitifully. Then, as soon as they offered libations to water of their son's departed soul, King Indra ascended to that spot on a celestial chariot. After assuring the aged parents that they would attain the same exalted destination as their son, Indra took the boy in his celestial form to the heavenly planets. The old ascetic then cursed me. Just as we are now experiencing great anguish upon that of our son, you will have to feel the same grief due to separation from yours. So this was a curse. And you realize that I am on a deathbed. I am separated from my son and I must die. And it's nobody's fault except my own fault. I had killed Shravana, that boy. And now that particular karma is coming now to me as a reaction. So, the old ascetic then cursed me. Just as we are now experiencing great anguish upon the death of our son, you will have to feel the same grief due to separation from yours. Then old sage and wife threw themselves upon their son's funeral pyre, thus giving up their lives and ascending to heaven. Dashrath continues, my dear Kaushalya, today I am reaping the fruits of my horrible crime. I am dying of a broken heart. I can feel the power of my senses ebbing away like flame of an oilless lamp. I know that death will come to me very soon. O Queen, I have already become blind with grief. Please touch me so that I can be assured of your presence. Maharaja Dashrath continued to lament in separation from Rama. While remaining fully absorbed in his memory, when half the night had passed away, king left his mortal body. Because he so greatly loved his son Rama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Dashrath attained the Lord's abode in spiritual sky, where Lord Rama reigns eternally. Any devotee who always thinks of the Lord while eating, sleeping, working, or relaxing attains the Lord's transcendental abode. Thus, although King Dashrath had to enjoy the reaction of his past offenses, he achieved his desired goal, eternal association with Lord Rama. The next morning, the leading Brahmanas of Ayodhya gathered at the court. And that's why the verse is, Munisto Buni Sarjam Mantribi Parivarita Ragna Sabam Deva Sabhasam Nibam Vishvidvibhu. So the next morning, the leading Brahmanas of Ayodhya gathered at the court, urging the king's minister to install one of the king's son that very day. So, That was a suggestion we already saw, that Sumantropi tadayodhyam dinante pravivesh vastrena mukhamachadya bashpa kulitalochana. So we already saw that when the news came that Ram is not coming back before 14 years, Dashrath was so much upset and shocked, and finally he had left his body. So the leading Brahmanas of Ayodhya, they gathered in the court urging the king's ministers to install one of the king's son that very day. Addressing Vasishtha, Vamadeva, Markandeya, Kansyana, Gautama, and other rishis, the Brahmana said, a country without a king is doomed. In such a place, rogues, the thieves take advantage of the situation, and the lawless prevails. In a kingdom without a ruler, ownership disappears, sons disobey fathers, charity is forgotten, and religious practices decline as the citizens exploit one another. The rishis replied, what you say is perfectly correct. It is the king that makes the demarcation between good and evil in this world. Bereft of a good king, the subjects are like cattle without a herdsman. Vasishtha suggested, since Bharat has already been selected as the apparent heir, he should be installed upon the throne immediately. Let swift messenger go now to the capital city of King Kaikeyi to bring back Bharat and Shatrughna to Ayodhya. So we already saw that these two brothers had joined their maternal uncle and they had gone away. And they didn't have any idea about what was happening in Ayodhya, especially death of their father and the exile of Rama, and Lakshmana and Sita also have joined to the forest. They didn't know anything, so they sent them the message to come back to Ayodhya as soon as possible. Everyone agreed to the proposal and messengers were instructed to tell Bharata only that he was urgently required at Ayodhya. After traveling for several days, the messengers arrived at Kaikeyi capital during the night. In the meanwhile, Bharat had experienced a ghastly dreams. So, when Bharat was speaking, the messenger from Ayodhya entered the room. After offering the respects, they related the message. O Prince, you have summoned to Ayodhya by the ministers and Vasishtha. Your presence there is urgently needed. And that's all. They were not supposed to disclose any kind of other messages or news. When Bharat asked them about the welfare of his parents, they replied as instructed, telling him that all was well. Suddenly eager to depart, Bharat took leave from his maternal grandfather and uncle. Upon his leaving, Maharaj Ashwapati gave Bharat many valuable gifts. However, Bharat hardly considered them because of the urgency conveyed in Vasishtha's message and the premonition in his dream. accompanied by Shatrughna, Bharat mounted his chariot and hurriedly departed, accompanied by a large army supplied for his protection. After passing through various territories in great haste, Bharat arrived at the outskirts of Ayodhya on 7th day of his journey. So, we can learn from this what was happening in Ayodhya. And Bharat was not aware of anything like this. It was a sad, whatever was reading, and the way Dasharatha Raja confessed about this sinful activity that was committed. When he was cursed that you will be separated from your son and that should give you the death. He didn't have any son. So, we have to learn from the scripture how this whole theory of karma works. There are three kinds of, Bhagavad Gita says, three kinds of karmas. It's very interesting. If you know through Ramayana, you will know more from Ramayana than from Bhagavad Gita itself. Number one is known as Kriyamana karma. What is a Kriyamana karma? Kriyamana karma is, I am thirsty and I drink water. Drinking water is a karma. Walking, talking, any regular activity, anything we do is a karma. So drinking water is also karma. Why am I drinking? Because I am thirsty. And as soon as I drink the water, the thirst is quenched. I don't need any water anymore. The result came right away. So what it means? That karma theory says every action has a reaction. So the karma of drinking water, if that's the action, what is the reaction? Quenching of thirst. No more you are thirsty. That's the reaction of drinking water. I may be hungry and I am eating. Eating is a action. What is the reaction? Oh, I don't eat anymore now. That's it. I am full. Right? So that quenches your hunger also. So eating is an activity, but then quenching of this hunger, appetite is a reaction. But it happens without any waiting. Instantly it will help. As soon as I drink the water, it will quench my thirst. So Kriyamana karma is, Ramayana says, that is one kind of karma that we don't have to wait. Now in this case what happened? Sanchita karma means the karma that Dasharatha committed by killing Shravana. Name of the boy was Shravana. So, by killing him, that was a sinful activity. He was also cursed. Even if he was not cursed, he will have to pay the price for killing somebody. Action and reaction. The way you are separating the parents from a boy, your boy will be separated from you. And the way parents say, we die, you will die in separation. But there is no boy. He doesn't have any child. So what will happen? Karma says it doesn't matter. We will deposit your karma and later on you will get the reaction of it. Many banks are offering, they call it a CD. And I remember Tamal Krishna Maharaj was giving a lecture right from here, and he mentioned the greatness of Srila Prabhupada. He says, Prabhupada just called me. And he says, Tamal, today, the money that we put in the bank is maturing. You are getting 10% on that. Either you withdraw the money or you renew the contract. Put it for another 6 months. Or you withdraw the money. And Tamal Krishna was amazed. He says, Prabhupada is engaged in all kind of spiritual activities. He is running the whole International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Right here in this temple, right from this Vyasasana, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was speaking. And he says, I don't have that kind of memory. But today is a day. And he reminded me that it's very important. Either you withdraw the money or you renew the contract. So the thing is that just like the money, the karma is deposited. And that is why here the word is sanchita karma. Sanchit means it gets deposited on your account. The Mr. Dashrath killed somebody, so he must pay the price. Doesn't have son? No problem. Eventually he will have a son. And the destiny will separate them. And when they are separated, he will have to die. So that's what happened. After he killed Shravan as well as his parents, he had to pay the price. And he had to die. But that is known as a sanchita karma. And after that, if sanchita karma stays there, like in case of money, we say 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, whatever, that deposit you put, and it stays in the bank account. Similarly, when there is a maturity date, when the sanchit karma getting mature and trying to give you the reactions, the fruits of your activity, that time it is known as a prarabdha karma. So we are talking about 3. First was kriyamana karma, sanchit karma, and now we are talking about prarabdha karma. What is a prarabdha karma? When karmas which are deposited is ready to give you the results of your sinful activities, that time it is known as a prarabdha karma. This is very important. And that is why we have to be very, very careful any kind of activity that we commit. Aham karomi itim vruthabhimana swakarma sutrad grathito hi lokah. I am doing is simply ego. We always think we are doing this, but no, your ego is doing that. And that's your ego, that you think that you are doing it. We act under the reactions of karma we commit. Our karma makes you act in this way or that way. People commit suicide, people decide to die, just like Dashrath Raja, very strong king, but he decided, I must go now. I can't take this anymore. Right? हानि लाभ जीवन मरण जश abjash vidhi hat. What is the importance of this prarabdha karma? So, hani means disadvantage. Labh means advantage. Now, who gets the advantage and who gets the disadvantage? So, devotee Mataji named Shabari was able to receive Lord Ramchandra at her doors. She didn't even leave her cottage, but Ramchandraji came and knocked at her doors, and she was able to have association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just see how lucky he is. Lord Ramchandra walked up to her ashram. That's what Ramayana says. That was the advantage. And his own mother, Kaushalya, she was not able to reap those kind of fruits. That was at her disadvantage, right? While the real mother of Ramchandra had to feel separation from Rama, to her disadvantage. Jivana Marana. Who got the life and who got the death in Ramayana? So, Ahalya came back to life because of Rama. Yesterday when we were discussing, so as soon as it touched a stone, a rock, it turned into a woman, and that was Ayodhya. She got a life, but Dashrath met death in separation from Ram. One gets life, other gets death. Ayodhya got life, and Dashrath got death. Jash apajash. What is a jash? Credit. And apajash means discredit. Kaikai got discredit. Everybody is blaming Kaikai for all this mass that we read and understand from Ramayana. No one in this world named their daughter as a Kaikai. Have you ever heard that somebody named the daughter, or if you suggest name her Kaikai, they will say, are you out of your brain? What are you talking about? We are not going to name our daughter Kaikai, right? So much discredit she is getting. And who gets the credit? The monkeys. If you take out monkeys from the Ramayana, there is no Ramayana. Helping Ramachandra in the forest, even before kidnapping of Sita, right? Because there are all kinds of communities, and this Kishkinda Khan, the whole community was full of monkeys. And they were all born to serve Lord Rama. That's why they were surrounded by monkeys, Ram and Lakshman. And while they were looking for Sugriv and Hanumanji, Angad, all those people, they helped him. When Sampati said that Sita is there across this ocean, you see that Lanka over there, that country which is away from India, the south shore of India, and you have to cross the ocean in order to reach that country where Sita Mata is. So, given from that information by Jatayu as well as his brother Sampati, they had to build a bridge. And who built the bridge? Monkeys, right? And who went to Lanka and tried to bring the news from Sita Mata. Hanuman went, that was a monkey also. And who went to Lanka and fought with Ravana? Ram didn't have any soldiers with him. He could have brought the whole army from Ayodhya, but he was banished. And that's why only army he had was army of all the monkeys. In defeating Ravana, monkeys has a big role. When Lakshman got hurt, Hanumanji went to Himalayas and he collected certain herbs which were required, and he came back, brought the herbs, and that's why Lakshman came back to life. While coming back to Ayodhya also, they accompanied him, including Sugriv and Hanuman and other important monkeys. So, if you pull out the monkeys, there is no Ramayana whatsoever. That's why who got credit and who got discredit. That's what it's mentioned here. So, theory of karma, if you want to understand, we have to read this Ramayana. One more thing, which is not in Ramayana but is in Mahabharata. What kind of injunction is that? So that we will see right after the Aarti. So by the way, if you are home, if you want to feel like offering an incense of ghee lamp or little water or hanky, flower petals, if you have the chamar or a conch shell to blow, you can follow the pujari and exactly do aarti at your home. We call this a home program, that before we actually start streaming, we are requesting Radha Govinda to come to your home. Every day we have sponsor's name in Sankalpa, in our resolution, and Radha Govinda knows where he is going, because we tell that today's sponsor is such and such. Eventually, at the end of the program, we will be announcing before Ram Navami who are the sponsors for every day. But this is the way it goes. So this is a home program. Radha Govinda is there either in your cell phone or on a laptop or on the TV screen or whichever way you are watching. But if you want to offer, if nothing is there, you can offer the aarti in your mind, but follow the pujari, the way she is offering. Please try to offer to Lord Krishna. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedantu Swaminiti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauruvani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi पाश्चात्या दशतारिणे नमस्ते सरस्वती देवं गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे की बजय जय गौराचंद्र आरती को शोभा की बजय जय गौराचंद्र आरती को शोभा जानवी तटवन जगमन लोभा जानवी तटवन जगमन लोभा दक्षिण निताई चाँद भाम गदाधरम दक्षिण निताई चाँद भाम गदाधर निकट अद्वैत श्रेणी वास छत्रधारा निकट अद्वैत श्रेणी वास छत्रधारा बसियाच गौराचंद रत्न सिंहासन बसियाच गौराचंद रत्न सिंहासन आरती कोरेन ब्रह्मा आदिदेव गणे आरती कोरेन ब्रह्मा आदिदेव गणे नरहरि आदि कोरी चामर जुलाय नरहरि आदि कोरी चामर जुलाय संजय मुकुंद बासु घोष आदि गाय संजय मुकुंद बासु घोष आदि गाय शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला मधुर मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला मधुर मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे 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 मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल बहु कोटि चंद्र गिनी वदन उज्ज्वला बहु कोटि चंद्र गिनी वदन उज्ज्वला गल देश वन माला पुर जल माला गल देश वन माला पुर जल माला शिव शुक नारदा ब्रह्म गदा गदा शिव शुक नारदा ब्रह्म गदा गदा भक्ति विनोद देख गोरार संपादा भक्ति विनोद देख गोरार संपादा की बजयो जय गौरा चंद आरती को शोभा की बजयो जय गौरा चंद आरती को शोभा जानवी तटवन जगमन लोबा जानवी तटवन जगमन लोबा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे माता जी हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshuvaya Namah. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshuvaya Namah. Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshuvaya Namah. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshuvaya Namah. Gopal Govinda Ram Srimad Sudana. Gopal Govinda Ram Srimad Sudana. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita. Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshuvaya Namah. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshuvaya Namah. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan. Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Namaste Narasimhaya. प्रहलाद लाद दायिन हिरण्यकशिपूर्वक्षः हिरण्यकशिपूर्वक्षः शिलटङ्कान् खालाय परितो नसिंहो परितो नसिंहो यतो यतोऽमिततो नसिंहो बहिर्नसिंहो हृदये नसिंहो नरसिंहां गदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये नरसिंहां गदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये तव कर कमल वरे नखां अद्भुत श्रृंगार दालिता हिरण्यकशिपु तानुभृंगा केशवद्रुता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Nrsimhadev, 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 Jaya Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev, 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 Jaya Nrsimhadev, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, श्री राधा गोविंद देव की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री राम सीता लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय। नमो विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सता भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवस्ति गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, अंतर मायापुर धाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, समावेद भक्तवृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे, all good assembled devotees, all good assembled devotees, all good assembled devotees, all good Guru and Gauranga. So in Mahabharata, here we are talking about when he killed only Shravan, the ascetic boy. The karma waited for a few years until he gets a son, and that was Ram. In Mahabharata, Dhritarashtra had 100 sons, and he lost all the 100 sons. So what kind of sinful activity he must have performed? Sinful activity, so that he had to pay the price, where all of his 100 sons departed. He had to feel separation from all of them, and he had to actually create a fire from his body and die. It is said that in one of the lives, Dhritarashtra was a hunter, and he designed a net to catch the birds. The material he created, thought of and designed so that material could be flammable. It can burn at the same time. It's catching the birds too. So he spreaded the net on a beautiful green lawn and threw some grain also and 100 birds flying in the sky, plus their parents, father and mother. They all saw the wonderful arrangement, didn't know that this is by hunter. And they landed on that particular net and they got trapped. Now the reason that they catch the birds or the animals or anything is so that they are non-vegetarian and they eat. So he set up a fire to that flammable net, and the parents immediately got blind, and rest of the birds, they died in that fire. Now, there was no one to curse, but this is a destiny. The law of karma will not leave you. Even if you commit a sinful activity in the dream, you will have to pay for. Because every action has a reaction, that's a simple law. So, what happened? That until he gets 100 sons, the karma will have to wait. And the scripture says it's not easy to beget a son. A lot of people have sons and daughters and all that. Especially in order to beget a child, you have to be a very pious person. Unless you have accumulated a lot of pious activities, you cannot have a child. No way. So, in order to get 100 sons, Dhritarashtra had to accumulate lot of pious activities. Lot of pious. The destiny gave him the facility so that he can donate money. He can give charity to others. He can perform fire sacrifices. He can all kind of austerities. He can feed so many people and grow so many trees and help the needy, all kind of charitable works. He did life after life after life after life, so that he will qualify for 100 children. And destiny provide all the facilities so that he can perform pious activities. Until then, it was all deposited in his account that we have to get this guy and kill him and kill his children, because he killed those 100 birds. Eventually, he was born as a Dhritarashtra. But during that hunt, the parents got trapped, and when he set up the fire, immediately they got blind. So, Dhritarashtra also lost his eyes. And although he had 100 sons, wonderful sons like Duryodhana, people draw a very grim picture of Dhritarashtra, even Ravana. But these guys are not that bad. They are devotees. Unless, someone reads the scripture, you will not know the qualities of that. In the Mahabharata, Dhritarashtra himself commits that janami dharma nachame pravrutti. Do you think you know what the dharma is? What the religion is? No. I got the same guru, the Vasishtha and Dronacharya and all that you can think of. Whatever Pandavas has, we have got the same gurus. And we have taught us all the religion that man is supposed to know. So Dhritarashtra in Mahabharata says, Janami dharma, nachame pravrutti. Only thing, I just don't perform the dharma. Janami adharma, nachame nivrutti. I know what is adharma is. What should be done, what should not be done. I know that. But nachame nivrutti. When it comes to dharma, there is no any pravrutti. I cannot act. And when there is a adharma, I act. That's all I do wrong things. Kenopadeshe radhisthitena yatha niyukto tatha karomi. I don't know who guides me from inside, but that's my position is. Otherwise, I have the same guru, I have learned the same scriptures. Somehow I know what is right and what's wrong. Only thing, when I want to act, I'm like a puppet. Somebody up there is pulling the ropes which are tied to my hands, and I end up doing a wrong thing. So, in the Mahabharata, Duryodhana lost 100 sons because he had killed 100 birds. Doesn't have to be birds. It could be 100 ants, 100 roaches. Doesn't matter. There is life and 400,000 species of life. Millions and zillions of lives. Someone is a lion, someone is a tiger, someone is a deer or elephant or a donkey or cat or dog, whatever it is. But when it comes to violence, it doesn't make any discrimination that if you kill an elephant, that's a bigger, heavier, sinful activity than you kill a sparrow. No. They don't go by weight, pounds. Killing is a killing. Violence is a violence. And you have to pay for that. That's the law of karma. So in Mahabharata, here in this case, he killed Shravana, and Rama was separated from Dashrath and he died over there. Dhritarashtra's 100 sons were killed in the battlefield. There is one more thing which devotees should know. In Mahabharata, Yudhishthira was taught by Lord Krishna. And that's not in Bhagavad Gita, it is only in Mahabharata. Krishna says to Yudhishthira, Papam karmam krutam kinchit, api tasmin drishyate, nrupate tasya putreshu, putreshvapicha nutrushu. What does it mean? All those words, nrup and pap and karma, krutam, right? Drishyate and all that, Sanskrit and Bengali or Hindi or Gujarati or even, after 50 years of Krishna consciousness, when we read the Bhagavatam every day, people are familiar with all these words and roughly they get the idea what the translation is or what the verse is talking about. The main words I am trying to point out is Putra, Shu, Pautreshu. Putra means your son or daughter, and Pautra means your grandchild, your grandson or granddaughter. Krishna says a general understanding from the Bhagavad Gita. You get the idea that, okay, Dashrath kill, Dashrath will die. Right? When Valmiki ji was a hunter, Narad Muni came and he says, ask your wife and your children and whoever is eating this meat, are they going to be with you when a time comes to repay for this sinful activity? Will they stand with you? Will they share with you your pain and sorrows that you will have to go through? And the wife and children said, no. So Valmiki came back and he said, Narad Muni, no, they are not going to share. I will have to pay for all that. So Narad Muni said, now think over. You are killing and hunting the animals in this forest to maintain them, but they are not going to support you. They are not going to share your sinful activities. You will have to pay. So why don't you give up? And the Ramayana that we are reading today is all Valmiki Ramayana. So he gave up, stopped doing the hunting and all that, and he just chanted Lord Ram's name. So in Mahabharata, Krishna says, the general understanding is that if I break a glass, I will pay for that, But here, Krishna gives some more insight of it. He says, suppose you have a house and the owner of the house is smoking a cigarette, puts it on the mattress, and there is a fire middle of the night, and the whole house starts burning. Do you think that fire will only burn the owner of the house, that he was smoking and he's the one responsible for? No. If wife is living with him, she will have to run away from the fire also. If they have children, they will have to also get out of the house as soon as possible. Or, if the fire burns, he won't burn only the owner. Every one of them will be burned because they were living in the same house with that owner. Krishna is trying to tell that not only you will have to pay for your sins, your spouse, your relatives, your children, your grandchildren. The karma is so strong that everyone will have to pay for that. Now this, we didn't know. I see in devotees' world, young children, if you meet them day before, and you say, oh my God, so beautiful children. And then when you ask today, they say, where are they? Oh, they are in the hospital. Why? What happened? How is it possible? So the thing is, devotees will have to watch out with this. This is the injunction given from Krishna, that somebody will have to pay price for your karma. The parents may think that, well, I misbehaved, I offended somebody, I don't care for my brother, God sister, or don't even care for deities or my guru or this. You can behave yourself, no problem. You will pay, but along with you, your spouse will have to pay. Your son or daughter will have to pay. Your grandchildren will have to pay. And that is something that we have to know from this particular literature. So Mahabharata is actually very helping this particular area that we are covering of karma is very, very important. Yesterday, before we close the session, we talked about how Lord Rama, Mother Sita and Lakshman, who are none other than the Lord Narayana, goddess of fortune, and Ananta Shesha, crossed the river Tamsa with the help of Guha in his boat. Remember, he said, I want to wash your feet, and then he's drinking the Charanamrit and all that. So, that river that they cross is a Tamasa river. Once they crossed the river, they started walking deep into the jungle in a forest. And they saw a boy dressed up as a brahmachari in saffron, very young boy. So Ram calls him and he says, whose ashram is this? So he says, Sage Bharadwaj, he is living here. So he says, can you go inside and inform him that there are some strangers, some guests named Rama, Lakshmana and Sita. They have arrived to your ashram. Will you please go and tell them? So he goes inside and gives the news. As soon as Bharadwaj Muni hears Lord Ram's name, he comes out and pay obeisances to Lord Rama. Now, they are asking that I am from Ayodhya, and will you please suggest a place where we can settle? Because we have to spend 14 years in this forest. So he says, yes. Just a couple of miles from here, there is a Chitrakut. Please go there, and that's where you can find a wonderful place where you can settle yourself. So, Chitrakut was suggested, and when they went to Chitrakut, they saw another ashram, and they were curious about it. Who is living here? And guess who was living there? Sage Valmiki, the hunter who was killing the animals. By the guidance of Narada Muni gave him the mantra, and by chanting simply Ram's name, he became sage. So, Valmiki Rishi met him, and they asked Valmiki Rishi that upon suggestion of Bharadwaj Muni, we are here at the Chitrakut, please show us some place where we can settle. So he says, let's go. They walk along, and at the foot of the mountain and at the bank of Ganges, they built a little hermitage, Chitrakut, and then they settled down, thinking that they will be able to stay there for 14 years. Now what happens that Athagatva Shramapada Samipam Bharato Muda Sita Ram Pade Yuktam Pavitra Matishobhitam. This we are in forest right now with Lord Ramachandraji. But over there in Ayodhya, when Bharat comes back to Ayodhya, he hears this suggestion that they want to give this kingdom to me, and they have already exiled Lord Ramachandra. And Lakshmana and Sita are with him. So he said, no, I don't want this kingdom. I am going to go to wherever Ram is. Finally, he first met Bharadwaj Muni, and then also he finds out where they are, And ultimately, he comes to Chitrakoot and he sees the footprints of Lord Rama, footprints of Mother Sita, and footprints of Lakshmana. And he is very, very happy to see that now he will be able to locate them. So he finds their hermitage and he meets. So now we are up to Bharat Milan, means the meeting between two brothers, Bharat and Rama. Bharat is not all by himself. The rest of the brothers, the mothers, and the whole army, and if possible, from everybody from Ayodhya, they are all there. And Bharat is trying to tell Rama, please come back and start ruling the kingdom. But Ram says that no, I have promised my father, and there is no way that, Mother, you can stop, that I'm coming back to Ayodhya. I'm going to be here for 14 years, and please go back. And I give you my sandals. You install my sandals and think that I'm the king, and you rule the city of Ayodhya. So Bharat is taking the sandals and going back to Ayodhya. Thank you for attending. Tomorrow we'll have more things to talk about. On Zoom, if you go as per the instructions of the authority, some guest speaker will come and talk about all these subjects. You will have better insight, and then whenever I have a chance, I will try to help you also. But keep reading Ramayana. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.